mommy wouldn't get up. My mommy wouldn't get up.
This is Siobhan Murray, a 24-year-old mother of one, and her friends Sharday Trevino and Victoria Pugh, three best friends whose lives would be tragically cut short while on a simple errand to pick up a child at her grandmother's house. Nothing could have prepared the officers for the nightmare that awaited them at the scene. In the driveway, beside a black Hyundai Elantra, each shot point blank in a cold, calculated execution. What was meant to be an ordinary custody exchange had turned into an ambush, a ruthless attack that left three friends dead in the blink of an eye.
How in the hell do a custody exchange end in three people being unalive? What kind of, I swear, people just be doing the most craziest things ever. I don't give a damn what you're going through. Unaliving somebody is definitely not the answer. It ain't even worth it. Like, what? Nobody deserves that.
But before we get to that tragic moment when these women's lives would be taken in cold blood, let me take you back to where this heartbreaking story started. The story begins with 23-year-old Siobhan Elise Murray, lovingly known as Mookie by family and friends. She was a pretty young woman whose bright future would be tragically cut short by someone no one could have imagined. Originally from San Diego, California, Siobhan moved to Memphis in her younger years, where she eventually graduated from Ridgeway High School. Siobhan was known for being a kind-hearted, driven woman who had big dreams for her future. She had a baby on the way. Everything seemed to be falling into place for her, or so she thought. Siobhan had a close-knit circle of friends, which included 24-year-old Sharday Olanda Patires Trevino and 23-year-old Victoria Pugh, two friends who sadly would be part of the tragic event that would not only take Siobhan's life, but theirs too. Sharday and Victoria were a huge part of Siobhan's life. The three had known each other since high school, and their friendship only grew stronger over the years. They proved to those who knew them that family isn't always defined by blood, but by the bonds people choose to nurture and cherish. All three women had their bright futures to look forward to, but heartbreakingly, those dreams would never be fulfilled. Despite the challenges Siobhan faced, including balancing her education and motherhood, she remained optimistic about her future and her child's future. Siobhan had initially dreamed of becoming a veterinarian, but later decided to pursue a career as an animal laboratory technician, driven by her desire to build a better life for her child. Her life, however, would take a turn after meeting Nathan Stewart, the father of her child. What started as a relationship like any other soon spiraled into something dark. Nathan, a 27-year-old from Holly Springs, Mississippi, had a history of violent behavior that would soon lead to the unimaginable.
See, this is why I be looking up people and trying to know people background. You just never know who you dating. Because like I always say, when you meet people, they are representative of who they are. They don't show you the real them. That's why you gotta definitely dig deep. Like, do these background checks. Ain't nothing wrong with it. I don't care people like, oh, you invading their privacy. No, the hell I'm not. I'm trying to make sure that this person is who they say they are. And even though you still might not never, you know what I'm saying? No, but it's like, something. Because, baby, if you got a background of doing, assaulting people and stuff, like, I don't want no parts of you, period.
Nathan, just like Siobhan, was a student at Southwest Community College, but he still lived with his family. At first, Nathan came across as charming and full of life, the kind of student who drew people in with his energy, which was no different with Siobhan. Their connection was immediate. They shared laughter, light-hearted moments, and a closeness that quickly grew into something deeper. Their relationship seemed effortless, two young people chasing dreams side by side, and before long, things became more serious. In 2011, Siobhan discovered she was pregnant. The news, though unexpected, filled both of them with excitement. The thought of building a family together brought joy and hope, even as their plans shifted dramatically. They believed they were ready to face the challenges together. But beneath the happiness, Siobhan carried another burden. Months before the pregnancy, cracks had already begun to show in their relationship. Arguments became frequent, and Nathan's temper flared over the smallest disagreements. His behavior grew increasingly aggressive, leaving Siobhan unsettled. Those closest to her began to worry, sensing that her safety and well-being were at risk. Siobhan knew deep down that this wasn't the life she wanted, not for herself or for the child she was carrying. The constant strain and conflict were wearing her down, and eventually she made the painful choice. She made a choice to walk away from the relationship. Her family and friends felt a wave of relief, hopeful that she had finally broken free from someone whose troubling behavior had long worried them. While they had never supported her relationship with Nathan, their excitement over the baby was undeniable.
You know, sometimes we don't like to listen to our family and stuff, but sometimes people from the outside looking in can see more than you can see. And I get it, when we so in love, we be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, this person good, they show us this, they just really, you know, you try to find the best in a person. And there's nothing wrong with it. But sometimes people from the outside can see or whatever. But it's scary when somebody is being the way that they are, like controlling and all of that stuff. Because just because you walk away don't mean that shit be over, though. That'd be the crazy thing.
Forward to welcoming the child with open arms. Yet, behind the scenes, Nathan wasn't ready to let go, and his decision would soon take not just one life, but 3 lives. Siobhan eventually welcomed her baby girl, whom she named Nalea Nalise Stewart. To her, Nalea wasn't just a child, she was the center of her universe. From the very first moment, the little girl brought peace and joy into her mother's world. Even her birth carried a symbolic touch. She often flashed a peace sign, a small but powerful gesture that seemed to embody the serenity she would bring to everyone around her. Friends and family described Siobhan as fiercely devoted, a mother willing to sacrifice anything to give her daughter the best life possible. She worked tirelessly, determined to build a brighter future for them both. And as expected, her journey was never walked alone. Siobhan leaned on her 2 closest friends who stood by her through triumphs and hardships alike. And little Nalea was surrounded by love too. Her 2 aunties adored her, treating her as if she were their own child, cherishing every moment spent together. Yet, in a cruel twist of fate, the very bonds meant to protect and nurture would ultimately be tied to a tragedy that claimed 3 lives. Still, Siobhan's path was complicated. In 2021, a few months before the arrival of Nalea, Nathan was accused of attacking and stabbing Siobhan's mother, Rita Finney. Not only that, he even harmed Rita's dog before proceeding to steal her car. But just
Why he didn't go to jail? Why? See, baby, let me tell you something. Attacking my mama and my mama's dog? Come on now. Like, you gonna attack my mama? Oh, you got to go, sir. And we gonna file charges and make sure you go to jail. Like, what? Hell no. I'm gonna have this baby by myself. Goodbye. I'm not waiting till the baby born. Like, what? Attack my mama? You done lost your goddamn mind.
later, it was revealed that Nathan had sent threatening texts to not only Siobhan, but also her mother, promising to unlive them both. But this wasn't a one-off situation. Rita later shared that this wasn't the first time Nathan had assaulted her. It had happened on more than one occasion. She even had scars she claimed were from those encounters. But that was only the beginning. In same year, an arrest warrant was issued for Nathan after they had reported his threats. Charges were filed and restraining orders were put in place.
He should have been in jail for putting his hands on your mother. Like, why, mama, why you didn't file charges on him? Like, I get that we can get scared because people just be, crazy and you don't want, but like, to get a crazy person away from you, you file charges to put their ass in jail.
What Siobhan didn't know was Nathan had a deadly plan in his sleeves, and soon he would unleash them. Fast forward after the baby's birth, Siobhan still allowed Nathan to remain in her life. Out of
Hell
compassion and hope, she wanted her
no.
daughter to
No.
know her father and his family.
We
She
had
tried to
supervised
co-parent, believing it was the
visitation.
right thing for Nalea.
Hell no.
If only she knew that would be the biggest mistake of her life. It was on the evening of July 14th, 2024, that little Nalea's world would be shattered. That night, Siobhan, along with her friends Sharday and Victoria, drove to Holly Springs to pick up her child, Nalea, who had been staying with Nathan's mother. What should have been a routine visit quickly escalated. Siobhan and Nathan had an argument outside of the home. A neighbor reported hearing gunshots, and moments later, the unimaginable happened. Nathan, in a fit of rage, opened fire on Siobhan, Sharday, and Victoria, executing them all at point-blank range. The massacre took place in front of Siobhan's 3-year-old daughter, who witnessed everything from the back seat of the car. In a cowardly act, Nathan then turned the gun on himself.
No, why you ain't do that shit at first? You could have did that to yourself and left them girls alive. Then you gonna turn it on yourself. No, and you ain't nothing but a goddamn coward. Now that little girl gotta live with the memory of her daddy unaliving her mama and her aunties, and then unalive himself. No, you should have stayed alive so your ass could go to jail for life, baby, death row or something. I can't stand when they do that shit. Now, if you want to do that to yourself, you should have did that to yourself without doing that to other people. Like nobody deserves that shit. Oh baby, that baby gotta live with those memories.
Authorities arrived on the scene to find the bodies of the victims, all of them with gunshot wounds to the head. It was immediately clear that something unimaginable had taken place. Yet the nightmare was far from over. As officers worked to piece together the scene and identify the victims, faint sounds began to emerge inside the vehicle, soft whispers that caught them off guard. At first, they thought someone might still be alive. They checked each of the 3 bodies for a pulse, but found none. Then, as they searched beneath the back seats, they made a shocking discovery. On the floorboard, hidden from view and covered in blood, lay the body of Siobhan's 3-year-old daughter. Her wide, vacant eyes stared ahead, frozen in shock, as though she had just witnessed something beyond comprehension. She had survived a brutal ambush, one that had stolen her mother's life. Police quickly pulled her from the car, checking for injuries. Miraculously, she was unharmed physically, but her expression told another story entirely. Siobhan, Sharday, and Victoria were all vibrant, young women with so much life ahead of them, and now they were gone, all because of Nathan's violent outburst. These weren't just victims. They were daughters, friends, and dreamers. Victoria's journey makes that clear. Victoria Pugh, known lovingly as Vicky to those closest to her, was born on April 3, 2001 in Memphis, Tennessee.
This is so sad. Like, this little girl has to grow up without either parent and have a memory of her dad unaliving her mom and blood all over her. Like, that is horrible. That is gonna cause that baby gonna have trauma for a long time. Like, oh my God, because somebody don't want you, you gotta move on. Like, and it's because they don't want you because of you. Like, people don't never want to take accountability for the way they act. And then you can't take rejection, but you're the reason that they rejecting you. Like, man, I so hate for things like this to happen to anybody. And you never know who's who. But she did, you know what I'm saying, try to get away from him. But at the same time, they should have sent his ass to jail. When he put his hands on it, he should have been to jail. They should have sent him to jail and did everything. And I know sometimes the justice system don't always help you, but you got to at least try. Because you never know what a person is capable of.
Gentle, empathetic, and wise beyond her years, she carried a quiet strength that drew people in. From childhood, she felt called to serve others, and her dream of becoming a mental health therapist reflected her nurturing spirit. But Vicky had a rare gift. She listened without judgment, making those around her feel truly seen. Friends and classmates often turned to her for guidance, comfort, and understanding. Those who knew her often said she had a calming presence, the kind of person who could ease tension in a room simply by being there. Her desire to counsel wasn't just ambition, it was deeply personal. She drew from her own struggles, transforming them into a source of healing for others. Her compassion extended beyond words. Vicky embraced creativity through wig making, a craft that showcased her patience and artistry. For her, it was another way to uplift others, helping them feel confident and beautiful. Loved ones admired her kindness, and her bravery shone brightest the day she saved her best friend's daughter during the tragic shooting. That protective instinct was part of her very essence, something she shared with her closest friend, Sharday Trevino. Sharday, born in St. Louis in 2000 before moving to Memphis, was described as a radiant presence in her family's life. Selfless and determined, she pursued a career in healthcare, completing her certified medical assistant training with a flawless 4.0 GPA. Her mother often spoke proudly of her intelligence and drive. But Sharday wasn't only defined by academics. She was loyal to the core. Her bond with Siobhan and Vicky was unbreakable, built on years of shared laughter, dreams, and unwavering support. Together, they envisioned futures filled with purpose and success, always lifting one another up. Tragically, the same love that bound these women together in life would also unite them in death. Their tragic shooting sparked a heated family feud that only intensified with the aftermath. While Siobhan's family mourned their loss, Nathan's family responded in a way that many found deeply troubling. Some of Nathan's relatives, in a shocking display of denial, posted "Long live Nathan" on social media, a sentiment that deeply hurt the families of the victims.
Well, first of all, you know what? I'm going to say this. At the end of the day, that's still his family. He was in the wrong. He was all the way wrong. And I get the other families being pissed off, because they saying long live him. But that you gotta also know that that's their family. Like, so because that's their family, they not gonna be like, oh, well, good, Nathan gone, he gone, because he can stop harming people. Of course, they not gonna say that. They're gonna mourn him at the end of the day still because he is their family. But it is sucky that you have to see, that online, and this is the person that took your kid or your family away, all behind because he couldn't take rejection.
The insensitive posts led to an outpouring of grief and outrage from the victims' families, with many questioning Nathan's upbringing and the lack of accountability within his family. But amidst the anger and grief, the focus remained on the 3 innocent lives lost and the haunting reality of what the little girl had witnessed. Siobhan's daughter, now without her mother and surrounded by such devastation, was left to process the trauma of losing both her parents, one to violence and the other to his own reckless actions. Siobhan's mother, Rita, was left to grapple with the brutal reality of her daughter's death. She had already been through so much, raising her daughter, dealing with Nathan's erratic behavior, and trying to keep her family intact. Nothing could prepare her for the gut-wrenching pain she felt as she was notified that her beloved daughter had been taken so senselessly. Her grief was not just for the loss of Siobhan, but also for her granddaughter, who would now grow up without a mother, forced to live with the memories of that fateful night. The haunting words of the 3-year-old, "Mommy's gone, Vicky's gone, Sharday is gone," played over in Rita's mind, knowing that this innocent child would never truly understand why her mother was taken so violently.
That is so sad. And she was at the age where she'll remember. That is horrible for a child to have to go through. Oh my God. I feel so sad for the baby. And the mama, like, for you to have to bury your daughter. And like, to me, it's just like when somebody pass away, when it's to gun violence, oh, it's just horrible because that's something that could be avoidable.
The very fact that Siobhan's 3-year-old daughter was forced to witness the murder of her mother and the violent end of her family was one of the most heartbreaking aspects of this tragedy. Her young mind, unable to fully comprehend the horrors she had seen, clung to the only comfort she could find, the hope that her mother would wake up. In her innocence, the child likely didn't understand the permanence of death. All she knew was that her mother, her protector, would never come to her again. Victoria Pugh, one of Siobhan's best friends, was able to shield the child in the back seat of the car, using her own body to protect the young girl from harm during the shooting. While Victoria herself tragically lost her life, her sacrifice meant that the child survived. This small act of
Hold up. So you mean to tell me he shot the car up? Oh my God. He didn't even give a damn that his kid was in there. That's that's horrible.
bravery in the face of such horror was one of the only rays of light in an otherwise dark tale. The entire community was left reeling in shock. Holly Springs, typically a quiet town where most residents knew each other by name, was suddenly thrust into the spotlight due to this appalling act of violence. Locals couldn't understand how something so violent could happen so close to home. The news of the shooting sent shockwaves through Memphis as well, particularly within the small group of friends who had known the victims for years. The investigation into the motive behind Nathan's actions revealed a disturbing history of abuse, manipulation, and control. Although there had been previous reports of Nathan's violent tendencies, including a past accusation of threatening to harm Siobhan and her mother, it seemed that the warning signs had been ignored. Despite a restraining order and an arrest for stalking and domestic violence in April 2024, Nathan's obsessive and violent behavior escalated rather than subsided. Siobhan had attempted to distance herself from Nathan by breaking off their relationship.
This is why I say when people file like these, file police reports and have these restraining orders, I feel like the justice system needs to do more than what they doing. Like I get y'all feel like these other crimes are much bigger, but these are preventable crimes. And I say they preventable because when people are reporting this shit, this is the beginning. When y'all don't do nothing, they keep going and it get worse and worse because they know that y'all not gonna do nothing. If you stop that shit from the jump, put their ass in jail and do all the stuff that you need to do, it can prevent a lot of people from being unalive. Like it's sad that it has to get to that point before y'all sit here and say, "Oh, y'all know people don't follow no damn restraining orders."
But this only fueled his rage. His desire to regain control over Siobhan, particularly over their shared custody of their daughter, became the driving force behind his actions. Nathan was obsessed with keeping Siobhan in his life, and when she refused to comply with his demands, the situation turned deadly. The tragic irony of this story lies in the fact that Siobhan had already been trying to create a better life for her daughter, moving on from a toxic relationship. She was committed to her education and her dreams, motivated by her desire to provide a brighter future for her child. Yet, despite all her efforts to break free from Nathan's abuse, her desire for peace was met with the most violent of responses. The loss of 23-year-old Siobhan Elise Murray, 24-year-old Charday Ulanda Patrice Trevino, and 23-year-old Victoria Pugh will forever leave a hole in the hearts of those who loved them. And the young girl who survived the attack will continue to live with the haunting memories of that fateful night. This crime, though seemingly over, leaves a lasting impact that will ripple through the lives of the victims' families for generations to come. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story intriguing,
That is horrible. I pray that I never get any type of love like that. And I'm thankful that I've never had that in my past. Well, I ain't gonna say love like that because those are insecure people. Because when you're insecure, that's why you try to be controlling and try to make people do what you want them to do because you insecure within yourself and you have your own trauma that you got within yourself that you're trying to ignore. Like you need help. Like you need a lot of help. And it's sad because there's so many people like that in the world and so many people that lose their lives because of these insecure people and stuff. All I can say is when you first see one red flag, don't ever ignore the first red flag. You have to do something immediately. You know what I'm saying? Check these people background. see if they've been, you know what I'm saying, see if they've been to jail for assault and stuff like that. And I know a lot of them haven't been, you know, arrested or anything. Try to see if you got somebody got restraining orders. You know, like it's best to look up all this and be nosy into somebody's business. You know what I'm saying? So you can know what you're dealing with. It's a very sad story. I feel sorry for the baby. I feel sorry for the mama, and I feel sorry for the other girl's family because this is horrible.